This is Noel Tate, one half of the Velvet Drapes from Trapped in a World, the Howard the Duck podcast, and you're listening to Capes and Lunatics.
Hi, this is Phil, and I'm here to tell you all about the Capes and Lunatics Patreon. Don't miss out on our comic book creator interviews, including our monthly Chichester chats with comic book legend D.G. Chichester, superhero movie brackets in our search for the worst comic book movie of all time, and many, many more specials, all completely uncensored. Access starts for $3 a month, full video when you pledge $5 a month. Check out the link in our show notes or go to patreon.com/capesandlunatics. Hope to see you there.
This is Luca Perich, and you're listening to the Capes and Lunatics podcast.
Recording has started. Hello, dear listeners, and welcome once again to Superconnectivity. I'm your host, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me, as always, is the blue-eyed bomber from the Burg of Pets,
Phil, fill me in, Perich.
the podcast man himself. Welcome, my friend. Pardon my belches. Oh goodness, it is such a week, there's so much to talk about. Naomi.
Yep.
So much. But first I do want to take a moment. I want to talk about,
Louie Anderson.
of course, Louie Anderson. So here's the thing. Meatloaf a Day also recently died. And apparently his full name is Michael Lee a Day, which I guess ML a Day, Meatloaf a Day. I was actually surprised that his actual last name was a Day, because I thought that was like, yeah, you know, eat a meatloaf a day. But he was a big man. He was a beautiful singer, a beautiful artist as a musician, and it was a true sorrow to see him pass. He had been such a part of the pop cultural landscape. But as always happens with me, when a singer dies, when a musician dies, it hits me. It's sad. I'm like, oh, yes, that's someone I knew of and who I enjoyed. And now they're gone. But in truth, the thing I loved about them was their music, and that lives on forever. Mm-hmm. So, like, Bat Out of Hell doesn't stop just because he died today or he died 10 years ago or he'll die 20 years from now. Bat Out of Hell remains a rock and roll masterpiece forever, and that has no bearing on the man's mortal coil. Louie Anderson, however, also died. And when a comedian dies, to me, there's something a bit more human about it, because I think when a comedian dies, a comedian makes their bones on their humanity and reaching out to you as a fellow human about the foibles of existence. And, you know, there's lots of ways you may know Louie Anderson. Maybe you remember him as the guy looking to work the fry station in Coming to America, because by law they had to have a white guy in the film. Maybe you remember him from Life with Louie, the delightful comedy about growing up as the youngest child, or not even the youngest child, but the forgotten seventh middle child of a Minnesotan family full of alcoholics. Maybe you remember him from the more recent series Baskets, where he got to be fancy and work with Zach Galifianakis, who is the current modern famous clown. And he makes that joke in the series repeatedly. You know, clowning is such an interesting art form. And I think so many comedians have always known about being a clown. The same way that magicians know about being magicians, and knowing that it's so much more than the anachronistic ideas we have about the art form, and more about how you communicate to an audience the mystery of telling a story. So, I was very sad. I was very sad to hear that Louie Anderson passed. I mean, I'm always waiting for that one fat comic to live to a ripe old age. But I find 74 to be that brick wall that stands ahead of us.
Well, 74 wasn't that Meatloaf? I think they said Louie Anderson was 68. I think.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah,
Meatloaf was fat too. So
yeah, but I think I didn't see a cause of death for Meatloaf, but Louie Anderson, did I see it? I think it was cancer. I think
could have been cancer. I mean, It could have been anything.
Yeah.
I think people die at 64 all the time.
Oh yeah, I mean,
this is the thing. So I picked 74 because that's the age in which most people in my family die.
Yeah.
So it's a number that exists in my unconscious mind.
Wasn't that the average, like in the 70s somewhere for?
I mean, it's for most people. Most people die at 74. But when you're a fat person and you're like, looking at that, and what your other fat people family went to, and then you got show offs like Betty White going to 99. Mel Brooks is still sticking around.
Yeah, but that's that's like the great unknown though. Like Betty White, like you're 99. It's like, do you go to bed every night? Just like, we'll see if I wake up in the morning.
Well, that's the question. Although, it's always that question when you're in that spot, and it's like, well, what has history taught us? It's like I go to sleep every night and I wake up every morning. I've done it so far. Why should I assume I don't wake up tomorrow? Do you become obsessed with your own death, or do you become obsessed with your own life?
Yeah.
That's the question, and which is the right answer is the deeper question. Because obviously there are those that go to sleep every night thinking, someday soon I will die. And there are those that go to sleep every night thinking, I will live forever.
I'm just saying, you get to 99, aren't you? Just like, well, I've beaten the house, but for how long now? Eventually it's going to come due.
Yeah, except I guess I think the problem with that is just that anthropomorphization of death.
Yeah.
I mean, death is not Crackers the Clown. Death is not, Thanos' beloved. Death is not even an ad salesman from Iowa.
You don't know that.
Although in Marvel Comics, technically he is. Which is why we'll usually use masculine pronouns for death, because it really screws up with certain fans when you point out that death is a he in the Marvel Universe. And they're like, no, it's Lady Death. It's like, well, dude may say he's a lady. But I read that episode of Secret Wars too, man. Just wanted to be a super being, and now he is. And he likes Deadpool, because Deadpool's a fun guy to hang out with, He likes comic books, too.
Hey, isn't Deadpool pansexual?
He is. I mean, that's the thing is, like, I don't think that, Deadpool would mind.
Mm-mm.
It's just people that want to defend Thanos as, Thanos was right. Thanos' white people do not want you pointing out that death can be male. Even though in 2 out of 3 representations in Marvel Comics, Crackers the Clown, and of course Secret Wars 2, death is decidedly male.
All right, enough of this death talk. Let's get to something more cheery.
Let's talk about She-Hulk.
All right.
The force of life itself, the force of Benny Hill. And that is the true origins of She-Hulk. Much like Spider-Woman, She-Hulk sort of stemmed from a worry that Marvel realized they didn't copyright certain ideas. And that if other people came up with the ideas before them, they'd be stuck with it.
Female versions of certain characters.
Yeah, well, that was the idea. And and the timeline's a little wonky on this, exactly what came first. But effectively, there are 2 big things all tied around, of course, the classic Bill Bixby, Lou Ferrigno, The Incredible Hulk TV series. One is that you had, first off, The Incredible Hulk TV series become a global hit in a way that no comic book series, I want to say even more than Batman. I want to say that The Incredible Hulk was a bigger hit globally than Batman. Batman did get its penetration in its own time, But I do want to say the Incredible Hulk actually pushed further. And in an episode of Benny Hill, they do an Incredible Hulk joke, but with Benny Hill being his usual lecherous self character. One of his characters, who is a lech, flirts with this woman, and then she gets mad. And of course, it was always common you would have a woman slap you when you were fresh with them. That was a common comic trope. But this time the woman basically hulks out. And the legend says that Stanley saw that and said, "Oh, do we have the rights to a She-Hulk?" Then you had the episode of The Incredible Hulk titled Marriage, where Bill Bixby's David Banner, while he's in Hawaii, falls in love with a brilliant super scientist doctor, but realizes she has a blood disease, but also realizes that his gamma irradiated cells might somehow cure her blood disease. And what's interesting about this is he does use his real name on the marriage license, so that's a very big deal in this, because he's hiding, but clearly he's utilizing his own, so he's utilizing his records as he's making legal documents. So he's believed to be dead, but really, like, if you did the Incredible Hulk today with modern technological searches, it would be very hard for him to avoid Jack McGee. But in this moment, he knows he could save her if he gives her her blood, but they never get the chance because her disease progresses too far. Mm-hmm. Which is why I think when we get to our new She-Hulk series, that is going to be part of the idea. That although in the storyline that they come up with this, it's about her getting shot and her needing blood, and Bruce being the only legitimate donor for her. I think that's a little bit elongated, but I wonder if there is going to be an idea that she has a progressive illness that requires a treatment, and Bruce realizes, I think my gamma blood could help you.
Or what if they take it a step further? What if it's like, what if she needs some kind of like transplant or something, and like him as a family member is like the closest, like the only match or something, or
oh, they give her a Hulk kidney?
Something, yeah.
One Hulk kidney, no waiting.
Because I mean that would make more sense than like just a blood transfusion. It's like, that's more rare.
That would be brilliant. Honestly, I will say that. One Hulk kidney would be great. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, that's always that interesting thing about the Hulk in the MCU right now, because as we've seen him most recently, he has not been the Hulk. He has been Bruce Banner. So, are we going to find out why that is? Is there a reason he switched back? We've also seen him without the hand in the cast. So there's this and there's also this other idea that, will he be quote unquote free of the Hulk at a certain point? Because the idea, and this is something they touched on in the comics with the leader, which is that because he didn't change back, eventually his body depleted his gamma stores, and he just reverted back to being normal.
Maybe that's why he's going to give her a blood transfusion or a kidney or something, because he, it's been a while since he's been able to transform. He thinks, "Oh, I'm cured. No, I'm not going to worry anymore."
And that's how they get you, Philip. That's how they get you. But let's talk about the She-Hulk for a minute. So,
yes.
After Benny Hill, after Marriage, Stanley realizes we really need to make sure that no one else makes a Hulk.
Yes.
Because I think they already had a problem with Spider-Woman, where DC was going to do a Spider-Woman, and so they had to rush out a Spider-Woman character to claim the name, which is why Spider-Woman has such a complex history.
Yeah, no ties to Peter Parker at all. Yeah,
Yeah, which is why to know her is to fear her, because if you knew her, you knew too much. But Yeah, and so we have a similar situation here with She-Hulk. They rush her, but then I feel like there was a lot of, we've created her, what do we do with her? Because when you look at the original Savage She-Hulk, she's a very different She-Hulk.
Oh, yeah.
Because she's very much in the Bruce Banner mold of basically popping out of her gown and basically running around in a slip all the time.
Yes. Which
is, that's the one thing that cannot be defeated, is the indestructible slip of the comics code. And that is the issue with the She-Hulk. Now, she exists for a while, and then eventually she comes into Secret Wars. And I feel like this is where John Byrne really started to work with her a bit. Because I get the feeling he was the artist on some of this stuff. I'd have to double check, but I get the feeling as they're talking stories back and forth, because I do feel that there is a very real, a culture of artists talking to each other and writers talking to each other. And he is going to be taking over the Fantastic Four. Or he may have already taken over the Fantastic Four at this time. And when the idea becomes we're going to have Ben move into his own series, and they decide to move She-Hulk over. And I think that starts what we can really define as our modern She-Hulk genre. Which is, and this is what's weird about She-Hulk, is she is everywhere historically. For a character that is kind of a second-tier character, they really don't have a lot of space between making She-Hulk books.
Mm-mm.
Like, she is either a part of a team, or she is the lead of her own book.
Oh, yeah. After Savage She-Hulk, after Savage She-Hulk, she went right to the Avengers, then the Fantastic Four, then to her own book, yeah.
I mean, she really never stops. And you compare that to a character like Patsy Walker, who likewise has a long history, but has big gaps in her history, So that is that's the interesting difference between the two, is that She-Hulk has a consistent history, even though it seems disjointed, because she just goes, and kind of interesting enough, in sort of a Gwenpool style, she goes where she's needed.
Mm-hmm.
Some writer gets the character, and then they're going to tell their story for this character. And it's interesting that in both cases, the character's ability to break the fourth wall becomes one of their defining traits. Although, again, with She-Hulk, it is this weird aspect where it is treated so secondarily to her main superpower of strength that I don't think anyone has ever really explored her fourth wall breakery the way they have with Gwenpool or Deadpool or even Howard the Duck. Like these people that break the fourth wall, I guess maybe at the end of the day, no one wants to imagine what a Hulk could do if they could break the fourth wall, and that became their defining trait. Because I think that is probably a selling point of that is the idea that, if you could break the fourth wall, if you could alter reality in that way, and you were also a Hulk, what would the outcome be? Now, arguably, we see with Zemu, who She-Hulk also fought, and the Hulk eventually fought, and many people in the Golden Age fought. We see that idea of that being a Hulk, being unstoppable, and also being able to alter reality. So maybe there is something to that is this dark aspect of the Hulks, that they can alter reality, and maybe that's why they're so powerful.
Plus, how much of an advantage would that be if she could always break the fourth wall, like in the courtroom?
Oh, yeah. Well, that, of course, is ambush bugs, like Ace in the Hole. And I'm waiting for them to really approach that. Honestly, it was very disappointing to me when I was reading the current Suicide Squad, and they went to DC Hell, and there was not a line about Ambush Brooks saying, "No, it's okay. I know this place. I've been here before. We just got to find the exit." And even if they don't find the exit, but just having that be a line that he throws away, like there's usually an exit around here somewhere. That I think would have been the most brilliant level to that no one bothered. But we'll see what they do in the future with that. But yeah, that's the idea, that because you're a fictional character, you can always step outside of this narrative. You can destroy the universe, but you're still in the universe. You still exist because you are an idea. And as any evil, malevolent dictator will tell you, you can't kill an idea. As much as you try, you can't kill the idea. So, yeah. And that brings us to She-Hulk #1.
Yes.
Which, honestly, I think is trying its dangdest to embrace all of She-Hulk's history.
Mm-hmm.
Place it in modern context with everything that has happened to She-Hulk, and move it forward. And when she meets Titania, which I really love this scene, because we see Jen Walters in her Jen Walters form.
Mm-hmm.
And the entire plotline in this is literally just that. She doesn't want to ruin her suit. It's her only suit.
Mm-hmm.
So she needs to take all of this stuff off. And again, Reed should be giving her these things, but I also think that she's too proud to ask.
Exactly.
That's the idea there. She's too proud to ask. Oh, and yeah, there we have a little tribute to David Anthony Kraft, who did work on her. Also recently passed.
I mean, I do like that. This writer picked up, and she didn't just say, "Oh yeah, Jen's already back on top." It's like, "Oh no." After all the stuff that's been happening in the Avengers the last couple of years, it's like, yeah, no, she's starting pretty much at the bottom again. And
yeah, and to be fair, that actually ties in well with what has recently happened with her character.
Oh yeah,
she was, remember, she was a bounty hunter for a while. She had left the law practice. Really, I kind of felt that was going to be a backdoor pilot, was the FF books we recently got in Family Court.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like this definitely still fits into that. We see her go into her Hulk form. Clearly, her underwear still has really good elastic. But she tore out the arms of her shirt, so she fights Titania. But they also make this point is I thought you had gone straight. I thought you were he's like, yeah, but I still want to punch people. And they sort of worked out I like punching people too. Why don't we just make a Tuesday night date? Which I love. I love the fact that she's gonna have her and Titania now be besties. Which I gotta think is gonna be an aspect of the new She-Hulk series.
Oh, maybe, yeah.
Where yeah, she's the villain, but she's also, I just want to punch people.
I don't know if they're going to be friends, but it makes sense because Jen's like, oh, well, because Titania makes a comment. She's like, oh, you like punching me? I like punching you, But hey, let's set a schedule. I'll meet you in an empty lot and we can go at it as long as nobody's,
Well, exactly, because it's about being able to test yourself. And then she gets herself back together. And then we meet, and this is the big reveal. Her new boss is Mallory Book. And Mallory Book was the frenemy from the last She-Hulk series.
Ah.
Or maybe the one just before the last She-Hulk series. Well, yeah, it would have been before the last She-Hulk series. Because the last She-Hulk series was the first introduction to the Savage She-Hulk again, which she got the super buff She-Hulk. I don't remember with us ever getting her back to just the straight green She-Hulk. I remember the Red Room She-Hulk that we got for a while.
Well, one of the last Avengers, was it Avengers 50, I think? They kind of real quickly, put her back.
Put her back in her box, as you do. But Mallory Book is neat. Now, Mallory Book is now out on her own in almost a Nelson and Murdoch kind of situation, where she's got a little office. She's not at Kurtzberg, Lieber, and Book anymore. She is now doing her own superhuman law practice and has hired Jen Walters as that. There's even this whole thing about, like, which I was wondering who I was going to get. So I got the small one. But then we see that she goes, meets up with Jan, and Jan's like, yeah, all your stuff from the 80s is still here. Which, shows that we're going to get a lot of these references in her fashion choices to classic She-Hulk. When she lived in this apartment that Jan was letting her live in, when her and Wheezy hung out. And then, of course, there's a big crash. And we get Jack of Hearts back.
Yep.
And here's a fun fact about Jack of Hearts. Jack of Hearts, who absorbed her radiation, caused her to go savage and kill the Vision as part of the entire start of the House of M tragedy. So, everything old is new again, Phil.
Mm-hmm.
And they've got all the references to a lot of stuff with She-Hulk crammed in this issue. I can't wait to see where they go next.
I know, it's really good.
Yeah. Oh, well, do you want to talk about a couple other comic books before we go?
Sure.
Okay, give me a comment. Did Hulk 3 come out this week?
Yes. Yeah, I was going to say, the other Hulk, Hulk 3 came out.
That is weird, because I got Hulk 1 in my pull list. I was like, why did you give me Hulk 1? Because I felt like I had read Hulk 3 already. I guess I only read Hulk 2. But they didn't give me Hulk 3. So I was very confused. I'm going to tell my comic guy, something went weird last week. Where's Hulk 3? So, anyways, what happened in Hulk 3?
Well, basically, if you remember at the end of Hulk 2, Hulk got pulled in this other universe by another version of Bruce Banner.
Yes, I recall that.
Who isn't a Hulk, because this Banner's saying, oh, I thought you were one of them. And Bruce is like, one of what? Yeah, it seems in this universe, the bomb went off. Banner never went outside. So, they thought that they tested the bomb successfully. And Banner was just like, oh, no, I was just looking for, the whole gamma bomb explosion was me trying to provide the world with unlimited power. Okay.
As you do.
But then something goes wrong, and then I guess explosions just start going off all over that Earth. So,
So now everyone's a Hulk.
Yeah, a large portion of the population are Hulks now in this universe. So, but I guess once they find the Hulk, they just throw them into these dimensional portals to get rid of them, and so our Hulk is like, who's doing this? Who's in charge? So. What does that other universe Bruce say? Who's in charge?
Who is in charge? General Ross?
The President of the United States, Charlie. Yes, sir. President Ross.
Yeah. Sure, why not?
So, Thaddeus is president in that universe.
I'll work with it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
So most of the issue is just the other Bruce explaining to him, their different history. And, that was the end of the issue. It's like, no, it's my father-in-law. It's President Ross.
So I guess in this plot line, I guess Rick didn't go onto the.
Yeah, they didn't. Thing. They didn't mention Rick or anyone else being out there. They were like, it was a completely successful test. But then, later on, just boom, 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 boom.
And then all the bombs started dropping. Well, they just exploded spontaneously. Is that the idea? Yeah.
I'm trying to think if they went into that much. Detail.
Okay. I will have to read it after I go and yell at my comic book store on Wednesday. It's like, you let me down. So here's a book I read, Defenders number 5. This one was a little disappointing, I guess. I'm not going to say it was disappointing, but it's like a little, okay. So they wind up going back to the third universe. And in the third universe, that is the universe of conflict. We see the Masked Rider. He's the Hierophant. He is ill-defined, though, as you do with this whole plot line. But in this universe, you have Lifebringer 1 versus the All-Dark. And the premise of this is that the first universe was just all life. It was just the basic energy of life that eventually succumbs to death, which becomes the second universe. And now the third universe is the primordial struggle of life versus death, of being and non-being. And then, but because they are beings in this universe, because they've time traveled, chasing after Zoda, they realize that their existence is thwarting the power of Lifebringer 1, because they are beings, and there is only being and non-being in this universe. And because they were using the existence of being, Lifebringer 1 is not as powerful as they could be. But as you will recall, the Masked Raider has the power to be as powerful as anyone he fights. And when he confronts Zoda, we realize they struggle. The Masked Raider loses the fight and gets shot, but then Zoda pulls off his mask and realizes it was himself. Then we see this whole incident where he's talking to Eternity, yada, yada, yada. Big trippy stuff. Eventually the heroes help by using the powers of the later universes to help Lifebringer 1 to defeat the All Dark. They eventually leave back. Tiara gives Taya, who is Galactus' mom, gives Strange a item that he can take back to the future, so he can call on her if he needs her. Which, I mean, right there, I'm just waiting for that moment where Galactus comes and his mom shows up and says, "Galen, what are you doing?" So that's my big dream for a future episode. Then we get this flashback to, I guess, the Marvels, when the original Masked Raider got his mask. And that's where we leave it. And Strange has the Masked Raider mask, which gives you the power of Eternity, which is cool. What else is going on, Phil?
Here, I'll throw out Devil's Reign X-Men #1.
Oh, how did that go?
Oh, that's interesting. Well, Cyclops' team of X-Men are living in this big tree in Central Park. So, of course, Kingpin sends U.S. Agent and the Thunderbolts to kick them out, not too successfully. So, they're all going at it until Emma Frost shows up. And in flashbacks, but I guess Emma Frost did some work for Wilson Fisk in the past. But, here, she shows up at the battle and she's like, oh, you can't kick them out now. This their headquarters is now, recognized as a Krakoan consulate and stuff, and so legally you can't kick them out.
Well, there you go.
Yeah,
fair enough.
So Kingpin's not too happy with that. So he basically, tells Wesley, he's like, "Oh yeah, we're gonna frame Emma Frost for a murder of this young black girl." Yeah. He's like, we're going to see justice done, even if it's a white privileged woman, that's how they're going to spin the story. And yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like something Fisk would do.
Oh, yeah.
I would, yeah. Here's the last book for this week, Avengers 52.
Oh, yes.
I like that they've got the Star brand. I don't like that she is so freaking racist.
I know, just angry. And, yeah.
It's like she's an angry little white racist kid, mad about all the dirty, filthy aliens. Now, obviously, they're trying to communicate some sort of sense of proportion to her. And I think this is the idea, is that she sees herself. I think that's going to be the grand awakening of this, is she sees herself as the defender of the Earth and not the defender of 616. And that, I think, because that's the thing, is so much stuff of the 616 is centered around Earth.
Yeah. That
when you have an Earth being becoming the 616's defender, it is easy for them to think of themselves as a defender of the Earth, because so much of the rest of the 616 is filled with villains and that they have to defeat. So it's interesting. I like the symbiote skull. I am pretty disturbed by the ghost goblin.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Mormon with some Ghost Rider powers, yeah.
Well, that he then uses to kill other Ghost Riders, which means that all of his noggin bombs are Ghost Rider skulls he has stolen and corrupted, which is messed the F up. And then we get the age up of Brandy at the end, which I find interesting, to say the least. I don't know if I like where they're going with this, because there is a man-child vibe to it.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I'm cool with that. But it is something it is a choice they have made, and now we have to decide if this is a choice we're going to enjoy, or if it's going to get... I think you have gone too far, dear friends. Perhaps we should do something different.
I did see an interesting take on, was it Twitter or something, or Facebook? But someone was saying, it opens up with Captain America at the funeral of this World War II vet. They're like, thanks to the vagaries of sliding time, eventually we're going to get to a point where Cap comes out of that ice and, everyone he fought with in World War II is going to be dead.
Yeah, that is going to be truth. Aside from other people that happen to have just enough super soldiery.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, no, we're there. Actually, I was going to say you'd have at least until like 2040, but no, unless someone was fighting World War II when they were 1.
Exactly, yeah.
I
mean, you think about it now, it's probably 100-year-old people coming up to him now because... you're probably like 1820 when they were fighting World War II. So,
well, it's sort of it's the 90s Cap situation where you have where he has to connect with the kids who saw him, because that was the hero, because they thought he was Captain Midnight because he had the goggles.
I mean, eventually it's going to be where kids are just going to be coming up to him. My grandfather told me he fought with you in World War II, or
Yeah, that's the thing. It's a story that will eventually hit its wall.
I mean, to
be fair, the idea that Cap can't go to funerals anymore will be relatively minor in the scale of sliding time, because you will have. Like, that first month when he came back, he went to a lot of funerals of, Nonagerians. It's difficult, but you can make it happen, It is the vagary of sliding time, but maybe that is also something that they are acknowledging and recognizing in the fact that, we're going to have the 2 Cap books now.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Do you see that? Yeah, what is it, by this spring? Yeah, we're getting 2 ongoing Captain America books. One Steve Rogers, one Sam Wilson.
Yeah, well, because that is, as it turns out, this is the entire point of legacy characters, is eventually people realize, we can't just have these characters do this forever.
Mm-hmm.
And, for every Wally West and Barry Allen where it really worked, until they decided they needed to bring back Barry Allen. One wonders in that grand timeline of the universe, if there was a universe where writers said, no, don't bring back Barry Allen. You could maybe have Force Ghost Barry Allen show up and give Wally West to the power,
I mean, Barry Allen was the big example. I mean, he died in, 1986? They didn't bring him back till 2009, so.
Exactly. That's the one where... And I really feel like that is the thing that I really feel like all of the problems with sliding time and legacy characters, it's all DC.
Oh, yeah.
I think Marvel would be more than happy to just bring in new slates of characters all the time and let these old guys retire, I think they've wanted to have Reed and Sue move to the background for the last 30 years. I mean, you can always have old Uncle Ben there. It's just old Uncle Ben.
Yeah.
Because he's a rock guy, he doesn't age.
Yeah.
But, everyone else should have moved on and just be, old Uncle Ben and his crew of Fantastic Fours at this point,
Mm-hmm.
But, they won't let you. They pull you back in. So basically we're saying that, as with all things, all of the problems in comic books is a result of DC. Mark my words. All right. Anything else you want to talk about tonight, Phil? Oh, shoot. No, we didn't talk about Naomi, so let's do that real quick.
Okay.
Naomi. So here's the thing with Naomi, Phil.
Yes.
Naomi is from a parallel universe in the comics.
Yes.
In this universe, there is a Superman that is a fictional character, presumably dating back to the 1940s, but who is also a real-life super being that people are dealing with, but that no one believes exists. This is Superboy Prime, Phil. Mark my words, this is the end of the whole series, is she gets to meet Superman, but she realizes it's not Superman, it's Superboy. So it's not going to be any of the Superman we all love and we want. We know it's not going to be Brandon Routh although maybe we're going to get a Brandon Routh as, it's because, it's the old Superman and the young Superman stuck in that alternate universe. They're going to do a little Christ-eye, probably tied to our Flash movie. They're putting a lot of money on this Flash movie, though. So put it all on Flash.
That's their Days of Future Past. They're hoping to reboot the timeline.
Which would have worked if they'd actually bothered to do that with Days of Future Past, but they didn't.
They kind of did, but they kind of did it half-assed.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. If you don't use your whole ass, Phil.
I know. Whoa, hell. But no, too, those previous movies too. They just threw characters in there, not saying, and then they messed up the whole timeline. This person isn't supposed to be here yet, and this.
Exactly, that's the thing. It's like they wanted to do. You can't do a soft reboot. You either have to have a continuation with explanation, or you have to have a hard reboot. And, the idea of how you present all of this stuff, it's difficult. But anyway, my big prediction is it will be revealed at the end of the season that the Superman is actually Superboy Prime. He's going to say, no, actually, I was just a kid from San Francisco. But all of a sudden I realized I had these powers. And then I found out the truth that my parents sent me from this other dimension. And that's going to tie into this other guy who's also from another dimension that is after Naomi, because he's from the wild card universe where, everyone got a superpower. And then the people with superpowers wound up as warlords. And this guy just wants to fight. And that's going to be how they're going to structure it. It's an interesting universe, Phil. I'm not going to lie to you, but I'm excited to see where they go. I wish they could pick up the pace.
Me too.
It's like, you know what it is? It's like, because if you're a guy who knows lore, you see the connections early, but then you also kind of say, just give us an acknowledgement that this is where you're going, and not that, no, it's just going to be Brandon Routh at the end, and we're not going to explain why no one believes in Superman.
I mean, you don't have to reveal the whole mystery in the first or second episode, but how about giving us a little piece each episode? It's like, oh, hey, here's a clue, here's a clue, here's a clue. And they just keep it vague, it seems.
Yeah. Here's what I'll say. Because right now we're focusing on Naomi,
mm-hmm.
I wish they would be building more into the idea that no one believes in Superman.
Yeah.
See, that's the good example of saying, who really even heard of Superman before 10 years ago? And that's the thing, because this is a story that's coming out in an age of mass communication.
Yeah.
And to have people be skeptical about Superman, even 40 years after his debut, and maybe you can say, well, yeah, people said there was a Superman, but, that was just mass hysteria because of how great the comics were, which is a complete legitimate thing to say in the CW genre. That myth of Superman, you could even have people talking about, that would be really great. You have an entire episode just about, because people believed in Superman, Superman has manifested in our universe and now is real. That kind of idea would be brilliant to explore in this. But I feel like we're still getting into this thing. Someone pointed out that a lot of the graffiti on the walls was actually in Kryptonian. The graffiti that the guy erases at the end, which is cool, but then again implies a Superboy, not a Superman. So that's my big prediction. Mark my words, Superboy Prime is coming, and now a lot of people in LA are saying, rewrite it! We need to reshoot this really fast. Come on! Someone cracked the code. But don't worry, no one listens to my podcast. So you're safe.
Hey. Not true.
Well, I'm sure you listen and a few dedicated listeners and our Patreonians listen. Those guys listen, I'm sure. Those gals, those people. Anyway, Phil, it's getting late, Phil.
Yes.
Let's call this a night, shall we?
Sun's getting low, big
Phillip,
guy.
It's getting low. Sun's getting low. Oh, man. Time to ballet dance. Philip, if people would like to talk to us, help us out, how can they do any of those things?
Well, if you want to talk to us or share your thoughts with us, you can always email us at capesandlunatics@gmail.com or call the voicemail 614-382-2737. That's 614-38-CAPES. And you can always follow us on all our social medias. All the shows we do also have social media, Facebook, Twitter. You can find all those. You can watch this video on YouTube. You can see Charlie Esser's pretty face on YouTube. Subscribe. Most importantly, if you're in the subscribing mood, subscribe to Patreon, because once again, we're on our own now. So we're taking care of this ourselves out of our own pockets. So yes, any little contribution helps. Get exclusive content and episodes like interviews early. So if you can, please subscribe to our Patreon or pick up Capes and Lunatics and Capes and Lunatics Sidekicks merchandise. But everything I just mentioned is at Linktree. So please go to linktr.ee/Capes and Lunatics.
And I just want to say, $5 that opens the keys to the kingdom.
Full video, kids.
$5 like the handprint on Echo's face, because Echo is coming to Disney Plus. I do want to say I have issue 4 of Phoenix Song Echo. I read 1. I have gotten to 2 or 3 yet. And this is a shame for me, because I really enjoyed issue 1, but I just have not been able to get to it. But I'm going to try to, I promise. Maybe we'll talk about it soon. But yeah, give that money to us.
Gimme.
We'll make good shows for you. At least I hope we will. I hope we are. And if you like our shows, or if you hate our shows, if you would like to tell me personally how much you hate this show, sit down, write a long and strongly worded email to me, and send it in the way our mothers and fathers once did to superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, @gmail.com. And of course, follow me on the Twitters at Live Tweet Naomi, where I've already revealed the big season finale spoiler, but you can help me watch as I continue to defend this premise. As the series goes on, it becomes more and more clear I was wrong, at Charlie Esser. That's CHARLIEESSER. Look for the 2 E's in the middle.
For quality. Bing!
Thank you, Maz. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that has been another wonderful episode of Superconnectivity. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know I've enjoyed it. Maybe someone else enjoyed it. I hope Phil enjoyed it.
Oh, yeah.
He's here regardless, whether he likes it or not. This is his job. Come back again next week as we once again super connect with you. Good night.
I know you were about to go full stream ahead, Arg.
You know what?
Another fine program.
Arg, me matey. Hey, check out Full Stream Ahead. It has Maz live in the flesh.
Right on this podcast every Friday.
Always wonderful.
We Are Venomaniacs is the Venom Site official podcast for all of your symbiote news, reviews, and point of views about Venom-related comics, movies, television, animation, and merchandise. We are available on Podbean, Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Google Play Music, and YouTube. Join us, won't you?